G'day chaps, tis I, Clownpuncher139. Now that I finally have all the DLC stories, it only makes sense to rank them, because why not milk as much out of these things as I can? You all seem to eat them up anyway. Not much else to say here, except that I will only be talking about the DLC with an actual story behind it. No challenge maps, with one exception you'll eventually see. Also, I will be looking at each mission of Season of Infamy as its own entry, since having the whole thing wouldn't really do the missions within them justice. Without any further delay, let's get to the ranking. Number 14, Wonderland. It's honestly amazing how lazy this mission is. Seriously, all you do is go to marked locations and search for cop cars by listening for sirens. The locations are small as it is, so tracking down the sirens is literally no challenge. What would have made it better is if you had no markers and had to interpret Hatter's riddles yourself, given after you find each cop. That would have added some challenge and detective work to this mission. The bomb defusing game is decently fun, I can at least say that, but the fact that you have to listen to that damn siren the whole time makes it unbearable. And, I mean, the storybook aspect during the final fight is really well done, even if the fight itself is pretty mediocre. I do love how we go on a trip down memory lane and see all the old locations with old models and the like. It's cool even if it's a pretty uneventful finale to an already uneventful mission. Number 13, Catwoman DLC. Maybe this is just my salt talking, but I cannot stand the Catwoman sections of Arkham City. On their own, they're fine. Decently fun gameplay sections showing off Catwoman's unique playstyle. I personally don't like playing as Catwoman much because everything about her just doesn't flow with me. Her combat is simultaneously too fast and too slow, and her overworld movement is janky to say the least. Not to mention her Predator sections, just always hanging upside down waiting for your opportunity to strike. But where these sections really draw the line for me is in where they show up during the main story. I cannot stand where they interject during the main story of Arkham City. I go into more detail in my Everything Actually Wrong with Arkham City video, but basically they always jump in when the narrative is at a high point and completely break the flow of the story. If you had the option to turn them off but still have them installed, we wouldn't have a problem. But the fact that you have to play Catwoman's story if you have the DLC installed just pisses me off. Number 12, GCPD Lockdown. This story just feels so lazy. Oh great, Penguin's breaking out of prison, better reuse the finale of our base game for the final fight. Seriously, it's cool that they let you actually go inside the GCPD rather than just the underground bunker, but you're also just fighting on the rooftop again. Big whoop-de-doo. All the other packs in Arkham Knight at least added newly designed areas for every challenge you had to overcome, and had challenges unique to the character you were playing as. This one doesn't have any of that. Nightwing has no interesting gadgets for puzzles or combat, and honestly just feels really shallow without Batman to fight alongside him. The opening is alright, it's a decent enough combat section with lots of weapons for you to use in a unique area, and we get to see Tiny again. The Predator section is honestly just so bad. There's basically nowhere to hide, and again, Nightwing doesn't have any unique gadgets for interesting takedowns, so the whole environment is really bare bones. Sure, you get to use the voice synthesizer again, but so what? It's not unique to Nightwing, so it's really boring. And the final combat section is just a rehash of the base game's finale, but not nearly as fun. Why do you get to use the GCPD's environment hazards again? Batman just used them the other night in a much better fight. At the very least, Nightwing's interactions with Penguin are pretty dang funny, but that's the highest praise I can give this. Number 11, Harley Quinn Story Pack. Honestly, the only reason this isn't higher is because I'm not a big fan of playing as Harley. She has some interesting mechanics, and this is probably the most fleshed out of the basic Arkham Knight story packs, but I'm just not a fan for some reason. Harley's Maniac mode is cool, but it also makes combat into a complete joke, giving you 4 completely free takedowns and faster movement. Predator takes an interesting twist with Harley having no quiet takedowns, but that kind of just puts the experience into a weird flow state. You have to get loud to take guys down, then run away, probably hopping to the other side of the map to get another, and just send enemies back and forth across the map. There's some interesting environmental takedowns in the second section with the killer plants, but that's about it. Nothing that really appeals to Harley's unique actions. And the boss fight against Nightwing is really underwhelming. It's definitely not a bad pack, far from it, but Harley just never clicked with me, so that's why it's so low. Number 10, Flip of a Coin. As you'll soon see, I love Harley Quinn's revenge, so playing as Robin again, especially after how shafted he was in base Knight, felt great. This pack is still really bare bones though. It starts with a fantastic Predator section, but really falls off afterwards. Really simple puzzles that don't use Robin's mechanics, instead using mechanics already used in base Arkham Knight, and not doing them nearly as well. Couple unremarkable combat sections, and a pretty lame end for Two-Face. I will say that the subtle story it's trying to tell is actually really interesting, though could have been expanded a lot more. It's all about people doubting Robin trying to succeed Batman. Everyone says he'll never be the Bat, Two-Face, the thugs, and even his wife, Barbara. Robin has to keep proving himself that he can be just as good as Batman. He's more than just a sidekick, but everyone keeps underestimating him. He needs to prove it to everyone, including himself. It's a really great emotional base for this story that I feel like a lot of people can relate to. Unfortunately, that story takes a massive backseat and isn't explored nearly as much as it could be. If they went more in depth with it, this could easily be one of the best stories we got. But as it is, it's pretty mediocre. Number 9, Beneath the Surface. The start of this mission is honestly amazing. The wrecked and flooded prison is a fantastic setting, and hearing Croc's roars as you make your way deeper into the ship gives me some fantastic Asylum Croc vibes. Seeing this body pulled under the water is great tension building, especially as you go about saving the guards and warden from a similar fate. Unfortunately, this feeling of tension is completely lost after you fight the escaped inmates, because you leave the ship. There's nothing fun about just finding some guards that parachuted to safety, let alone suspenseful. And by the time you go back, you aren't platforming your way around like the beginning. You're just following a path to go fight Croc. And I mean, the fight isn't even that great. It's not bad, far from it, but it's certainly no Black Mask or Mr. Freeze. I don't know, if the tension from the beginning was kept and we had to explore the entire prison airship like stags, I would probably like this mission a lot more. But as it is, it's nothing special.
Ha! I've beaten you this time, Clown Puncher!
Who are you?
I'm an evil doppelganger of you 10 minutes in the future, created so that you can film this with narrative cohesion without having to change clothes. Okay, what do you want? I have committed the most heinous, evil act imaginable. I have stolen your wallet. You mean the wallet I've had for 7 years and have since retired in favor of this video's sponsor, Exter? Wait, what? Yeah, I got a brand new wallet from them and have since been loving it. Didn't you notice that my old wallet was empty? Because I've moved all my stuff to my new Exter Parliament wallet.
Exter is the world's largest smart wallet brand, who's working to design innovative solutions to improve the way you carry your everyday items. The wallet I got, the Parliament, is compact, made with premium leather, and is super easy to use. It can carry up to 9 cards and a little bit of cash while you're at it. And there's this really nifty mechanism that pops your cards out like a staircase, giving you instant, easy access to your 6 most important cards. I put my debit card and driver's license in there, among a couple others, since I take them out the most. And this nice little band on the front is perfect for carrying pocket change if necessary. Plus, it has RFID protection, meaning your cards and identity are safer than ever.
My, that's a very impressive wallet. Guess I'll just have to steal it for myself and go someplace you'll never find me. Farewell! Okay, go right ahead. I'll find you either way because of the tracker card I got along with it.
This solar-powered tracker connects to an app on your phone and lets you avoid one of the worst scenarios possible, losing your wallet with all your information inside. Identity theft is a big problem, as we all know, and this card wallet combo will keep you safer than ever. Just 2 hours of sunlight will keep it charged for up to 3 months, and it slides right into the side like any other card. If you happen to leave your wallet behind somewhere, just open the app and it'll instantly be located. And if the GPS tracking isn't quite doing it and you just need to be a little more specific, you can even call your wallet from your phone.
Just press the button and listen for the ring. Sounds like that guy's taken mine to my closet. Dude, get out. Fine, you caught me. But seriously, this is a really nice wallet. Where can I get one for myself? Funny you should ask. You can click the link in the description or pinned comment below to go to Exter's website to get one for yourself, and get a nice discount while you're at it. You'll get a great product and be supporting my channel when you do. It's a win-win. Thanks, I'll get right on that. But I'm still keeping your old wallet. You left a Chick-fil-A gift card in there. Toodaloo! That's fine. I'm pretty sure there was only $1 or $2 left on it anyway, but big thanks to Exter for sponsoring this video and for being my first ever sponsor. But now, let's get back to the ranking.
Yes, this is how I record audio, don't judge me.
Number 8, Catwoman's Revenge. This one is also really short, but it definitely makes up for it with some great combat sections. I may not like playing as Catwoman very much, or at all for that matter, but I can't deny that these sections are really fun. We start with a nice throwback to Arkham City having to snatch keycards from unsuspecting goons, then a pretty good Predator section. It's really open and gives you a lot of opportunities for unique takedowns. A quick puzzle then leads to a really great combat section. It feels like a single-player version of Riddler's boss fight. You have to fight with a lot of obstacles in your way, such as lasers and a slowly increasing electrified floor. It makes the fight really fun and really difficult. And let's not forget Riddler's incredible commentary. I never give Riddler enough credit in these games, he's honestly hilarious. Overall, a pretty decent pack that had some good combat, making good use of Catwoman's unique skill set. Number 7, Red Hood Story Pack. This is definitely one of the most bare bones packs at a glance. I mean, it's basically just 3 AR sections that you can finish in about 10 minutes. Where it shines is the fact that you play as Red Hood, who I absolutely love to play as, and it has a great boss in Black Mask. Red Hood is a super fun character, and is probably my favorite aside from Batman himself. He flows really well compared to some of the other characters, with a heavy emphasis on risk and reward. I mean, you can one-shot almost any enemy with your pistols, but in doing so, you leave yourself very vulnerable and probably expose yourself with loud noise, because you have to shoot 6 shots, and if you get hit once while you're doing that, the enemy doesn't go down. It's a simple but great concept that really works in this story's favor. However, I cannot deny that the sections are really bare bones. You got basic combat section, basic predator section, basic combat section, and great boss. The Predator section is somewhat unique, with the armored enemies, but that's about it. The combat sections are so bare bones and unremarkable that you could easily mistake them for basic AR challenges. At the very least, it has a really good boss in Black Mask. I won't spoil why here, but I will say it is one of my favorite DLC bosses. In the end, the only thing bringing this pack up is the boss and the character of Red Hood. Aside from that, it is pretty mediocre, I will not lie. Number 6, Initiation. Adding a new character to Origins plus a story-based set of challenge maps? Yes, please. I think we've all been curious about Bruce's training years at some point or another. We got a glimpse in Batman Begins, but now we actually get to play it out. We see a young Bruce trying to prove himself worthy of gaining the organization's teachings, and doing so in some pretty dang fun challenges. You get 3 combat and 2 predator. Now, you may be wondering how Bruce takes on a predator challenge. Well, he has a prototype grappling hook and detective vision, plus smoke bombs, shurikens, and more. Bruce is a pretty fun character to play as because he plays very similar to Batman, but with unique gadgets and combo moves. Also, these missions are hard, and if you fail too many times, you have to start all over again. It ends, quite surprisingly actually, with a fight against Shiva, in a much better fight than her base Origins outing. Seriously, this fight is really fun and really difficult too. There's not too much else to say here. Initiation is a pretty great story with some cool lore dumps. Number 5, Shadow War. It should be disappointing seeing Raish alive again, especially having by far the best death in the series, but damn it if this mission isn't fantastic. There's a great mystery element to hearing League ninjas supposedly fighting each other, and investigating the crime scene is really interesting. Tracking the blood is a great callback to Arkham City, and the hospital adds even more mystery elements. You see the League taking in new recruits, bodies of ninjas in different uniforms, and get some pretty fun puzzles as you go deeper into the hospital. The crime scene to determine the ninjas' last moments and press the right buttons is pretty dang smart and a really interesting way to use detective mode. Then we finally see Raish, and I must say, they made a dang good model. His glowing intestines and just completely ripped open stomach show that he really has become more monster than man at this point. Then the mission kinda dips in quality as you go looking for the Lazarus, meet Nyssa, and head back to the hospital. But when you're in the hospital is when things get really good. You get the call from Alfred and really put Batman's morals into perspective. Is ending an ungodly resurrection the same as taking a life? Would stopping Raish from recovering do more good than not? Will Nyssa keep her word if you do end Raish, or will Civil War continue, ending more lives than just one? It's a lot to take in from one of the only choices you actually get in these games. Ultimately, the choice doesn't really matter, you get an ending either way, but it's the darkness of each ending that really cements your choice. If you save Ra's, Nyssa dies and the League goes on in Gotham. Civil War is averted, but the League will still operate even after Batman is gone. If you don't save Ra's, war is again averted, but the League is passed to Nyssa, who vows to leave Gotham and shed no more innocent blood. But in doing so, Batman inadvertently ended a life. When he takes Ra's to GCPD, Ra's says that he's proud of Batman. In essence, proud that he's finally done the unthinkable and taken a life. Ra's doesn't die in the events of the game, but Batman essentially sentenced him to death. It's a really morally gray ending in both cases, and it makes for a great mission. The gameplay is lacking a bit in some places, which is why it's not higher, but it's still a damn good story, and a very fine conclusion for the character of Ra's. Number 4, In From the Cold. By far the best of Season of Infamy, mostly because it was able to do almost everything Arkham Knight had to offer. Great Predator sections, a racing section, and even tank combat. It was somehow able to incorporate all of that with one of the best stories on the equivalent of a side mission. Seriously, it is so unbelievably good, it's crazy how badly they dropped the ball on Mad Hatter. All it's really missing is hand-to-hand combat, but I'm fine with that since I like Predator more to begin with. It starts with a great Predator section on the ship with lots of enemies and just about everything the militia has to throw at Batman. When he goes onto the ship to find Freeze, we get a great scene between the two, showing the relationship they've developed at this point. Freeze refused to fight Batman because he's been a consistent ally since Arkham City, so the militia took Nora to make him comply. Freeze threatens to take Batman down, thinking turning him in will make the militia give her back. Batman isn't afraid though because he knows Victor will come around. We see an interesting side to Freeze here, one of pure desperation. In Cold Cold Heart, he's a being of pure rage, and in Arkham City, he's more reasonable but still angry as a whole when Batman doesn't help him. In Arkham Knight, he just seems really defeated the whole time. He's trying to get the cryogenerator stable but really doesn't know what he's doing, so he's desperately pushing buttons hoping something will work. He's desperate for Batman to find Nora, basically begging him to do so rather than threatening him like before.
Find her, Batman. Please.
It's really sad seeing him in this state, because before this he was calculated. Angry, but calculated. Now he's evolved so far into madness, trying to find a cure for Nora that he's lost his composure. This carries on as Batman tries to find Nora. When he reports that the tracker is missing, Freeze starts to lose it a bit.
No! This is taking too much time!
Batman tries to reassure him, telling him to get the generator stable so he can save Nora, but Freeze doesn't do it. He rushes it, failing to actually fix it because he's become so desperate. We get another great Predator section on the rooftop, and we see Nora for the first time out of her chamber. She's awake, and Victor is not ready to hear it. He's ready to instantly freeze her back up, but Nora doesn't want that. She's incredibly sad to see what Victor has become, and when the generator blows up, we get a great race to go save him. It's really fun to drive through the city covered in ice. It's a really fun track. The tank battle is definitely the weakest part of this mission, especially as the final gameplay section of this story, but it's made up for by the final cutscene. Victor can no longer save Nora, but she doesn't want to be saved anymore.
I don't want you to die, Nora.
Then let me live.
It's a really emotional ending, especially after seeing how far they've come in this series. Seeing all the lengths Victor has gone to save Nora, only for it to ultimately end with both of them going off with just a few days to spend together. It's great stuff. Definitely the best of Season of Infamy, and definitely making up for the mediocre Wonderland and Beneath the Surface. Number 3, A Matter of Family. Should really come as little surprise. This story is awesome. I guess what is surprising is that it's number 3 instead of the expected 2 or 1. But hey, 3 is nothing to scoff at. And frankly, it probably should be at number 2, but my personal bias and nostalgia is just holding it back. All that said, it's still an amazing story. The Seagate Amusement Park is a fantastic setting and gives way for a lot of great combat, Predator, and puzzles. Above all else though, is a character that I actually like to play as. Batgirl flows a lot better than most of the other characters, definitely on par with Robin in terms of flow. Exploring the backstage areas of the amusement park is super unique and kinda makes it feel like Asylum in terms of exploration, with all the confined spaces and wider areas for combat. Each hostage situation is really fun in its own right. The Ferris wheel is really intense and is a fun Predator section at the same time. The merry-go-round is a difficult but fun combat section, again with high stakes, and the deep-sea dark ride is spooky to explore with a fantastic jump scare and amazing Predator section. On a side tangent, can I say how hilarious the thugs talking about Polly are? None of them can give a straight story and all of them are ultimately pretty sad fates. Poor Polly. Anyway, tracking down Joker at the end is one last good puzzle section, and then the fight with Joker and Harley. It's a pretty good fight, definitely one of the better ones from Arkham Knight. Plus, having to fight both Joker and Harley at the same time is really cool. The story, though, isn't really the best. It's probably the weakest aspect of this pack and why it dropped to number 3. The gameplay is fantastic, but I really wanted a better story. And you can't really get that with a prequel with characters we know all survive. That said, it is still fantastic and definitely the best pack from Arkham Knight. Number 2, Harley Quinn's Revenge. Like I said, I love this story, and I really feel like it needs more appreciation. Seeing the fallout of Arkham City after Joker's death is really interesting, and swapping between time periods to piece together what happened is so much fun. But let's slow down a little bit and break everything down. You start as Robin, who's breaking into unfamiliar territory to actually rescue Batman. That's a little unexpected, no? Batman is just suddenly missing, and he's relying on Robin to save him. But this story instantly puts any doubts you may have about Robin to rest. He literally starts by throwing a thug into a TV. He's not playing around. He's here to find Batman and nobody is standing in his way. Exploring the warehouse is a lot of fun with Robin's unique moveset, especially the zip kick. Then you find Batman's utility belt and start to wonder just how much trouble he's in. Flashback time! 2 days ago, you see the state Arkham City is now in. It's basically empty, but the industrial district is overrun with Harley's goons, and the police are trying to get them out. Batman makes his way in to find Harley, who's taken some cops hostage. He does some detective work, some fighting, and eventually makes his way into the hideout. And I have to say that Batman sounds really defeated through all his lines. He really doesn't want to be there, but knows that he has to. This will come back later. Batman explores the warehouse looking for cops and Harley and ends up finding them, but gets shot in the process. He's taken captive, and now we know why Batman has been missing. We head back to Robin, who starts exploring uncharted territory, and we get some great puzzles making good use of his unique gadgets. And then he finds Batman. Harley has really lost it at this point, as she's trapped Batman in a capsule encased in a giant Joker statue. He's running low on oxygen, and Robin needs to hurry. We get a great fight with Harley, a titan battle, and he finally saves Batman. The rest is a mad dash around the warehouse to defuse bombs. It doesn't seem like the best finale until you run back to the main room and see what Harley has planned. She's got a full robot army at her disposal, which she stole from Wonder City, and now we've got a really difficult fight. They don't have any counter indicators and don't even fall down when you hit them. You really just have to fight well and use your gadgets effectively. Batman takes down Harley, she blows up the warehouse, and that's the story. But Robin was still inside the building, and Batman has just lost another person. Batman's emotion in this scene is really something else. He goes from enraged at Harley to relieved to see Robin, but then back to deadpan as he leaves because he is still a broken man.
I'm done here.
This is such a fantastic addition to Arkham City because it really adds something to the overall story. Pretty much all the others could be give and take in terms of story impact. This one really felt like a continuation of the Arkham City story that impacts Arkham Knight going forward. It's a really great story that really needs more appreciation. Was there ever any doubt? This is easily the best DLC story we've gotten out of this saga. And it's pretty obvious why. A fantastic story, innovative but familiar gameplay, and that's really it. And that's all it needed. I won't go into the story again since I already did a breakdown of the whole thing in one villainous scene. I will go through the gameplay though. You start in Wayne Manor as a very underpowered Bruce. He ultimately doesn't feel too different from Batman, but it's certainly cool trying to take back your home without the cowl. When you actually get the cowl on though, things really start to get heated up. Literally, the mansion is set ablaze as you must now rescue everyone and take out the thugs while you're at it. You get a great Predator section in the library where you're really put to the test since this story kinda takes place on New Game Plus difficulty. It's not quite that bad, but it's certainly not easy. More combat with a great new gimmick, armored enemies with freeze guns. Now you have to deal with basically mini Mr. Freezes. They're difficult, but not impossible to deal with, and add a great yet simple mechanic to the combat sections. Now we get more detective work, and it's still great, as you have to navigate a still anarchy-ridden city. Literally, cause it's filled with anarchy supporters. That's another thing. This story has frickin' side quests with it. Scanning anarchy tags, freeing the frozen people in the city, and stopping anarchy riots. Already, this story has so much more content than all the others. But back to the actual story. Batman makes his way to GothCorp for even more great combat and Predator sections, eventually finding Freeze, but having to leave to get parts of a cryo drill. In the process, Alfred ships out the Extreme Environment suit, one of the best goddamn additions ever made. The XE suit is so much fun. Breaking through ice walls, throwing heated batarangs, and using the heat gloves instead of the shock gloves is so fun. Batman makes his way back to GothCorp through a much more frozen GothCorp at that, and we get even more fun combat and Predator sections. Especially Predator sections, as you must now seriously deal with the extreme cold, having to free up gargoyles from ice and even using frozen barrels against enemies. It is seriously so much fun. And then Batman finds Freeze's lab, and we get a great detective section and a fantastic story breakdown. Again, see one villainous scene. After that, Batman goes to confront Freeze, and we enter the finale. And this finale is honestly a masterpiece. Possibly my favorite section of any Arkham game. As soon as Batman kicks this grate and confronts Freeze, everything is absolutely masterful. From gameplay to storytelling, everything here is perfect. Freeze is an amazing boss. Again, don't really want to spoil anything for future video, but this is literally my favorite DLC boss by a landslide. It is seriously so damn good. I will reiterate myself for this though. Batman having to break out of the ice to save Freeze moments after constantly wearing his health down is one of the most brilliant game design choices I have ever seen. It puts your actions into perspective and really shows how terrible of a person Boyle is. And the ending, seeing Freeze reach out his hand, finally seeing Nora safe, is one of the most emotional moments in this series. Cold Cold Heart is honestly a masterpiece. Sure, it's just an adaptation of an episode from the animated series. But who cares when that adaptation is literally a masterpiece? It is honestly miles ahead of all the other DLC packs. It's not even funny. It is the perfect combination of fun, emotional, intense, and everything else. And something I didn't mention for all the others, the music is masterful. All Arkham music is great, but Cold Cold Heart is just on another level. The final confrontation with Freeze has some of the best music in the entire franchise. Everything just came together so well for this story. It could honestly be its own standalone game. It is that good. If anyone was ever skeptical about Cold Cold Heart, let me reassure you that your money will not be wasted in the slightest. Play Cold Cold Heart. It is truly a masterpiece. And that, chaps, is gonna do it for this ranking. Thank you so much for watching. And once again, big thanks to Extra for sponsoring this video. Click the link in the description or pinned comment to go get your own. I'll have a different video out eventually where I rank all the DLC bosses, since I did promise to do that if I ever got around to the DLC, so you can look forward to that. All that said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later, chaps.